Dear brothers and sisters, it's wonderful to have an opportunity to share the next few moments together. As we gather together in all different parts of the world, we're always trying our very best to lead a life in which the purpose for which we are alive would be fulfilled. We who live on earth are very, very lucky. God has been very gracious on us, and we who are souls have received this human frame. God has given us all the faculties that are required by us to know God. And it's very unfortunate that having received the great treasures, we are unable to use them. I'd like to relate a story. This is about a miserly man. This miserly man would save and save and save and would hardly spend anything. And so with time, as he accumulated more wealth, he got a little worried if that wealth will be taken away from him. So he thought, what is the most precious thing which would be small to keep so that I don't have so many other things with me? So he went and sold everything he had, took all the money and bought a very big piece of gold. He thought that the value of gold goes up, and he thought this is just one thing, I can really hide it from everyone else, and I would have it with me, and his life started to be lived in the following manner. When he got the big piece of gold, when he went home, he then started to get worried. Where am I going to save this? This was the time when there were no banks, or he didn't have lockers, so he could go put your gold or your jewelry in the lockers. He lived in a neighborhood. There were other people who lived in the neighborhood too. He had his own lot. And so he put up a fence because he didn't want people to know what he would be doing. And as the fence was put up, he found an area which he thought would not be visible by any one of the neighbors, and he dug a little area and he put the piece of gold in it and hid it. So every night when it would get dark and he would check and it looked like everyone's sleeping, he would go out there, he would take the piece out, he would look at it, and it would give him satisfaction to look at the piece of gold. He would feel that he had something, and he would put it back and hide it with mud. So this kept on going on for a while. It generally happens when you do something unusual, then people in the neighborhood find out. And so there was a gardener who lived in the neighborhood, and he started to think to himself, why is this person going to some place every day? He did not realize what he was doing, but because he couldn't see beyond the fence. But he started thinking to himself that there must be something special that he goes every day, spends a little time there and comes back. So one night this gardener was up very late at night and kept on waiting, and he saw that the lights in the house where the miserly man lived, that they were all off for a while. So he went in, he sneaked into his lot, and he went to the area around the fence where he would see this person go. So he started to dig in the area. And as he was digging, he got to this piece of gold. He could not imagine what he saw. He'd never seen that much gold in one place. And he started to think to himself, all my life, if I work, I'll never be able to save this kind of money. So he took the piece of gold he thought to himself, and he says to himself, in the morning when this person wakes up, and the next day when he goes to check it out, he'll know that the gold is gone, and there's a good chance I'll get caught. So he, in the morning, packed his bags and left his town and started to go to a bigger town from where he thought he would move to another country, because with that much gold he could live very nicely. In the meantime, the next day, when the miserly man went to check the gold, and he was digging in that area, he didn't find anything, and he started digging next to it and next to it, and didn't find anything. He realized that his gold was lost. He started to cry very profusely, and one of his neighbors who heard him cry came in there. This was a wise person, and so he asked the miserly man what happened, and the miserly man told him about the piece of gold and how he would hide it and how he would look at it every day and put it back in, and it was gone. So this wise neighbor made a very interesting suggestion to the miserly man. He said, why don't you go get a stone about the size of the piece of gold that you have and get it painted in the gold color, and put that piece where you had the piece of gold hidden, and then every day, like you would come to look at the gold, you pick up this piece and you look at it. And the person says, how is this going to benefit me? And the wise man said that you were not going to use this piece of gold like most people do, to help their families, to be able to take care of things. All you did was look at it and you got happy. And that made you happy because you could see that piece. And so by looking at this piece, you would be happy too. Because when people have gold, most people get it so they can use it for something. And this miserly man was just keeping the gold so they could look at it. It could boost his ego that he had that much gold, and that was it. So when we think about this story, the moral of the story is that when we have something worthwhile, life should not go away just by looking at it. We need to make use of what we have. And when we start to think of ourselves, God, the Creator, who has been very gracious to each and every one of us to give us this human existence, an opportunity in which we can not only know God, but have our soul merged back in God so that we are off the wheel of transmigration. Now, all that is needed for us to know God and be with God has been provided in this human frame. But we just look at the human frame. We are involved in the activities of the world outside. We are enamored by what we see through our physical senses. And we try to get satisfaction through this physical world. Little do we realize that the treasures are all given to each and every one of us, and they are within us. All of our traditions tell us that this life is given to love God. Because when we love God, then our attention is on God. When our attention is on God, we get closer and closer to God. Most people pass through life without even realizing why we are born in this physical world. Many people just go through life. You take care of this thing, you take care of that thing, you raise a family, and then you're gone. Many people just want to get possessions and treasures of this world, not to realize that the great treasures are all with each and every one of us, and they're all inside of us. Whenever saints and mystics have come into this world, they have all exhorted us to focus within. God the Creator is not in the world outside. God is with each and every one of us. And as we go within, then we can partake of the divine treasures which are embedded deep within each and every one of us. Saints and mystics come into this world to show us the way. They guide us towards our goal. They let us know the importance of us being here. They let us know about the connection that we have with the Creator. They let us experience that connection. They teach us the techniques by which we can experience God while we are physically alive. They show us the way of being able to connect with the true primal manifestations of God, that being the divine light and the divine sound. And through the connection with the divine light and sound of God, we're uplifted from the physical to the divine, to the spiritual. And so the techniques that are needed for us to go on the spiritual journey are given to us through the grace of the great saints and mystics. And the great saints and mystics have come in all traditions, all walks of life, in all times, in all different parts of the world. And as we try to understand their teachings and as we make our life based on their teachings, we'll find that the purpose for which we've been sent into this world will be fulfilled. Sant Rajinder Singh Maharaj, who wrote much about the spiritual way, writes in one of his verses, he says, "Tumhi to phool dilon ke khilate rehte ho. Tumhi to phool dilon ke खिलाते रहते हो, बशर बशर को गले से मिलाते रहते हो." बशर बशर को गले से मिलाते रहते हो. When we translate this into English, it would be, you cause our hearts to blossom and you embrace each and every one as your own. So when saints and mystics come into this world, they blossom our hearts. They bring love of God into our hearts. They have that love of God grow and grow and grow. They ignite in us a passion to know God. Through their examples, they present to us a life in which our attention is on God, in which we are taking steps towards God. And it's through their grace that many people are focused in a direction in which all the treasures which God has given us can be used. Otherwise, this life will pass away, and even though we have the treasures, if we don't use them, they become useless to us. And we are again on the wheel of transmigration. So the key is to be able to use what God has given us. And so Sant Rajinder Singh Maharaj is saying that through the grace of his spiritual master, through the grace of saints and mystics, that when they come into this world, he's saying, you cause our hearts to blossom. Our heart was full of activities of the physical world, but saints and mystics come and they touch our hearts. And they transform our hearts so that our attention goes towards God, so that the love for God, which is hidden deep within our being, comes out, it oozes out of us, and we start to experience it. And this is why Sant Rajinder Singh Maharaj in the next line is saying, and you embrace each and every one as your own. You know, when we look at life, we all have walls around us. We say, oh, this person is of my faith, I can meet them, but they are of another faith. I don't know what they think, so I can't meet them. I'm not close to them. We think, oh, these people speak the same language that I do, so I'm with them. But these other people, they speak some other language. I don't understand that, so I can't spend time with them. We think, oh, they are from my culture, let me be with them, but these are from another culture. We don't need to meet them. Or we think of we wear the same kind of clothes, so these people we can be close to, and these people wear other kinds of clothes, we don't understand them, we don't need to meet them. So we as individuals have created these walls around us. Yeah. And Sant Darshan Singh Ji Maharaj is letting us know that when saints and mystics come into this world, they embrace everyone. Why do they embrace everyone? Because they realize that a part of God is in each and every one of us, and that part is our soul. And so they realize that in reality, we are a part of God, and this is why love from them goes to each and every one of us, irrespective of how educated we are, irrespective of what part of the world we live in, irrespective of any other outer signs that we other human beings think about. And this is why saying, and you embrace each and every one as your own. That this is the kind of life that we need to lead. Now when we start to experience the love of God in our being, then we will have love for all other human beings too. And this happens as we have that experience of God's love. And to have the experience of God's love, we need to focus our attention within. And focusing our attention within is called meditation. It has other names too. It can be called inversion. But the key is to be able to connect with the divine. The key is to be able to experience the two primal manifestations of God, that being the divine light and the divine sound of God. And as we experience that within ourselves, automatically a transformation happens because the realization sets in. If we can experience the primal manifestations of God, so can someone else. And so we are not different, we are all one and the same. And when that sets in, then love from us goes to everyone else. And that's the kind of life that we all should be leading. That is when heaven is down here on earth. When each and every one of us realize that we're all one and the same, and love flows from each and every one of us to everyone else, then there's no hatred, there's no jealousy, there's only love, there's only happiness, there's only joy. And that existence can be attained by each and every one of us as we experience the love of God within ourselves. So let us meditate for a few minutes. Sit as comfortably as you can. Close your eyes very gently, just like you close them when you go to sleep. Your eyeballs should be straight, focus 8 to 10 inches in front of you. And as you close your eyes, those of you who have been initiated in the mysteries of the beyond, please do your Simran. And those of you who are new here, please repeat any name of God that you feel comfortable with. The repetition of God's name should be done mentally and not out loud. As you close your eyes, make sure that you focus right in front of you, 8 to 10 inches in front of you. And as you repeat God's name, in the darkness, light will spout forth. It could be flashes of light, it could be circles of light. The light could be of various colors. It could be golden, it could be red, green, yellow, orange, or any other color. So just focus in the middle of whatever your experience is, and with time the light will stabilize. What actually is happening is that the light of God is within yourself. It's not coming from the outside. When you concentrate, you experience the lights. When you are distracted, you experience darkness. So with time, as your concentration improves more and more, as you practice more and more, as you sit in silence more and more, as you meditate more and more, then the light stabilizes for you and you go beyond the light. So many, many other vistas which are full of love, which are full of light. I pray to God Almighty to help each and every one of us here connect with the divine power within. And it's my prayer to the three great masters of the past century, Hazur Baba Sawan Singh Ji Maharaj, Param Sant Kripal Singh Ji Maharaj, and the gracious master Sant Darshan Singh Ji Maharaj, to help each and every one of us here connect with the divine power within and to experience the divine light in its effulgence. I will be sitting for a few minutes. I'll be getting you out of this meditative state at that time, and my best wishes are with each and every one of you. प्लीज लीव ऑफ, छोड़ दीजिए जी।